And it's great to be back with you. I want to jump right in today by asking you to do something a little uncomfortable. I want you to pull out your phone, go to your settings, and look at your screen time report for the last week.
Oh, that is a dangerous way to start. That number can be humbling.
It's terrifying. You see that number, maybe it's 3 hours a day, maybe it's six, and you just realize, wow, I spent a quarter of my waking life staring at a glowing rectangle.
And you can't even remember what you saw.
Not a thing. It's just a blur.
It's the definition of empty calories, right? We're just constantly consuming, but we're not actually being nourished by it.
Exactly. And that feeling, that stuffed but starving feeling where your brain is full of cotton wool and you can't hear your own thoughts, let alone God's voice, that's the spiritual static we need to talk about.
It's very modern crisis. We're just inundated with noise, with entertainment, with demands. And when the world's volume is at a 10, the whisper of the spirit can feel, well, impossible to catch.
So today we're looking at the antidote to that. We're exploring this month's topic, which is the discipline of fasting. And before you hit stop, because you think we're going to tell you to stop eating for 40 days,
Right, and live in a cave.
please stick with us.
Yeah, please do.
Mm.
Because the goal here isn't to make you feel guilty about your lunch. It's actually the opposite. We want to look at the newsletter for this month and explore fasting, not as a punishment, but as a kind of a life hack for spiritual clarity.
A life hack. That's a bold claim for something that involves being hungry.
It is, I know, but think of it this way. Fasting is probably the most practical tool we have for turning down the volume of the world so we can realign our hearts. It's about, cooperation with the Holy Spirit.
Okay, but before we even get to the how, we have to deal with all the baggage that comes with that word. For most of us, fasting just sounds like a fancy religious word for starving.
That's the hurdle, isn't it? I think a lot of people see it as a sort of spiritual hunger strike.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we make ourselves miserable enough, God will finally feel bad for us and answer our prayer.
You were twisting his arm.
Exactly. Lord, I haven't had a taco in 24 hours. You owe me this.
Right.
And the material for this month, it corrects that mindset right away. If you simply stop eating without a spiritual purpose, you're not fasting. You're just dieting.
Mm-hmm.
Or, starving. Biblical fasting is fundamentally different.
So how do we redefine it then? What's the actual working definition?
The newsletter defines it as voluntarily giving up something, usually food, for a set time to specifically seek God.
Yeah.
But the key isn't the subtraction. It's the addition.
The addition.
Yes. The big misconception is that fasting is about stopping an activity. The reality is that fasting is about replacing an activity. You create a vacuum by removing food or media, and the real discipline comes in how you choose to fill that vacuum.
Okay, that completely shifts the perspective. It's not just, oh, I can't have the burger. It's, I'm trading the time and energy I'd spend on that burger for a direct encounter with God.
Precisely. It's an exchange. You're denying the flesh to feed the spirit. And we see this expectation right in Scripture. In Matthew 6, Jesus is teaching his disciples, and he says, when you fast.
Not if.
Right. When.
Yeah.
It wasn't presented as this, extreme option for the spiritual Navy SEALs. It was just a normal part of a believer's rhythm.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus fasted. The early church fasted. It was the standard way to hit the reset button.
Let's dig into that why a bit more. Practically speaking, why does being hungry help me hear God? Is it just because I'm not distracted by cooking?
That's part of it, for sure, but the mechanism goes deeper. Think about decision fatigue. We make hundreds of decisions a day just about food. What to eat, when to eat, prepping it, cleaning it up.
Yeah.
When you fast, you reclaim all that mental energy. But even more than that, our bodies are loud.
Very loud, especially around noon.
They demand comfort. They demand satisfaction. Feed me, entertain me, soothe me. When you fast, you are deliberately telling your body you are not in charge today. You're quieting the loudest voice in the room so you can hear the quietest one. You're shifting your hunger from the physical to the spiritual.
I love that phrase, shifting your hunger, because we're always hungry for something, right? If it's not God, it's going to be Netflix or carbs or something.
We're designed to hunger,
Yeah.
but we often try to satisfy these deep spiritual cravings with, surface-level physical pacifiers.
Mm-hmm.
Fasting breaks that cycle. The outcomes mentioned in this month's topic are things like hearing God clearly, strengthening your inner man, and breaking the hold of habits that have you stuck.
That's the breakthrough element. I think everyone listening has an area in their life where they just feel stuck. Like they've prayed about it, they've worried about it, but nothing moves.
That's often where fasting comes in. It's like the battering ram that breaks through that spiritual resistance.
Okay, so we've got the theory, but I can hear the listener right now, and honestly, I'm thinking it too, saying, that sounds beautiful, but I get hangry.
The hangry struggle is very real.
It is. I get a headache, I get irritable, I can't focus at work. It feels so intimidating to go from 0 to 60 on this.
And you absolutely should not. If you've never fasted before, please do not attempt a 40-day water fast. That's just a recipe for failure, and honestly, it can be dangerous.
So where do we start? The newsletter gives what looks like a menu of options, which I have to say was incredibly relieving.
It's all about starting small. The goal is progress, not perfection. So you can look at a food fast. You don't have to do a full 24 hours. You can start by just skipping one meal.
Just lunch.
Just lunch. Eat a normal breakfast, skip lunch, use that hour for prayer, and then eat a normal dinner. That is a valid, powerful fast. It's just dipping your toe in the water.
And for the braver souls, what are the longer ones?
You can move to a sunrise to sunset fast, which is common, or a full 24-hour fast. Now, if you're doing 24 hours or more, the guide recommends a liquid fast. So water, maybe some juice, broth.
Right, so you're not going to pass out in the middle of a meeting.
Exactly. You want to maintain your energy while denying your appetite. But then there's a different kind of fast that I think is really fascinating. The partial fast, or the Daniel fast.
That's from the book of Daniel, right? Where he turns down the king's rich food.
Yes, Daniel 1.12, he just asks for vegetables and water. Now, practically, this usually means eating only fruits, vegetables, and water for a set period. No meat, no sweets, no bread, no processed junk.
You know, this one sounds easier because you're still eating, but I actually think it has a hidden challenge.
Oh, it is deceptively hard.
It is, because you lose the social aspect. Imagine going out to dinner, everyone's ordering burgers, and you're just sitting there with a salad with no dressing.
That's the friction point. And that's actually part of the spiritual discipline. You're choosing to be set apart in this very visible, kind of awkward way. You're stripping away the richness and the, entertainment value of food. You're just eating for fuel, not for fun.
It totally kills comfort eating. You can't stress eat a stick of celery the same way you can a bag of chips.
You really can't. And that forces you to ask why you were stress eating in the first place.
Now, there's one more category here that I think is arguably the most important one for our time: the media fast.
I agree completely. For a lot of people today, a media fast might be more spiritually potent than a food fast.
The newsletter highlights this for two big reasons. One is for people with health issues. If you're pregnant, diabetic, have a history of eating disorders, please do not stop eating without talking to your doctor. This is your alternative.
Absolutely. But the second reason is for the rest of us who are, let's be honest, addicted to the dopamine hit.
Let's talk about that, because giving up Instagram or Netflix for a week sounds simple, but when you actually try to do it,
it reveals the addiction. We use our phones to numb ourselves. We feel a moment of boredom or anxiety or loneliness and swipe. We just medicate with information. A media fast clears that mental space. It forces you to just sit with your own thoughts.
And that silence can be deafening at first.
It can be terrifying. But that silence is where God speaks. If you want to hear the Spirit, you have to stop screaming at your own brain with 15-second video clips.
So if you're listening and you think, I could never give up food, maybe the real challenge for you this week is to give up the screen.
I suspect for many, that will be the harder sacrifice.
Okay, let's get super practical. We've picked our fast. Let's say I'm skipping lunch on Wednesday to seek direction for my career. I've told my spouse so they don't make me a sandwich. I've eaten a light breakfast. Now it's 12:30 p.m.
The pivot point.
My stomach is growling. My coworkers are heating up pizza in the break room and it smells amazing. I am physically uncomfortable. What do I actually do? Because if I just sit there gritting my teeth, I'm just a hungry guy.
Right. This is where we get back to the replacement strategy. You have to have a plan for that hour. The newsletter lists these specific spiritual exchanges.
Walk me through it. Real world scenario.
Okay, it's 12:30. You feel that hunger pang. Normally, that pang is a signal to go find food. In a fast, you retrain your brain to treat that hunger pang as like a church bell calling you to prayer.
It's a call to prayer. I like that.
So step one, prayer. But not just, generic, bless me, Lord. Be honest. Tell God, Lord, I really want that pizza. My flesh is weak, but I want you more. And then use that time for intercession.
Praying for other people.
Yes. Pick a specific target. I'm fasting today for my brother's salvation or for my marriage. Every time your stomach growls, you shoot up a prayer for that specific thing. It turns the physical discomfort into spiritual power.
The guide also mentions the word.
This is crucial. When you're fasting, scripture just hits differently. You're more raw. So open the Bible during that lunch break. Read a psalm. Meditate on it. You aren't feeding your body, so you have to feed your spirit with truth.
What about journaling? I feel like that's a lost art for a lot of us.
It makes the process measurable. Write down what you're asking for. Write down what you think you're sensing. Fasting so often brings clarity to confusing situations. You need to capture that clarity. You want to be able to look back in 6 months and say, that was the day the answer came.
And then there's worship and listening.
Worship just shifts the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Put on worship music instead of a podcast.
Yeah.
And listening. That's just being still. It's saying, Lord, your servant is listening, and then actually shutting up long enough to let him speak.
That part, the shutting up, that's the hardest for me. I always want to fill the silence with my own prayer requests.
We all do. But fasting is an act of submission. And silence is maybe the ultimate form of submission.
Okay, I want to address the elephant in the room. Failure.
Yes.
Because I know myself. I'll decide to fast, and then without even thinking, I'll grab a handful of almonds from the jar on the counter, or I'll get a headache and think, I can't do this, I need a coffee, and then the guilt spiral starts. I failed God. I have no discipline.
And that guilt is not from God. The newsletter calls this the grace factor. This is so vital. Fasting is a discipline, not a law.
Explain the difference.
A law condemns you when you break it. A discipline trains you when you practice it. If you eat a cracker by accident, or if you have to break your fast because you feel faint or sick, God is not up there with a scorecard marking you with an F.
He's not angry.
Not at all. He's looking at the posture of your heart. If you have to stop, that's okay. There is grace. Don't let a moment of weakness turn into a week of shame. Just reset and try again next time.
I think that's so important because legalism just kills the spirit of fasting. If it becomes a misery contest, you've totally missed the point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stay humble. Jesus said, don't disfigure your face to show everyone how spiritual you are. Keep it a secret between you and God. It's an intimate act, not a performance.
So, assuming we make it through, we've done the fast, it's dinner time, how do we land the plane?
Gently. Ending the fast is actually a safety issue. If you haven't eaten all day, please do not go to an all-you-can-eat steakhouse.
Your stomach will take its revenge.
It will be violent. Break the fast with some soup or fruit, something light. And spiritually, use that first bite as a moment to thank God. It turns eating back into an act of worship.
It really is about integrating God into the most basic parts of our day.
It is. It's making the invisible God visible in our daily choices.
So, as we wrap up, how do we make this stick? Because doing this once is an experience, but doing it regularly is a lifestyle.
The newsletter suggests scheduling it. Don't wait for the Spirit to move you, because your flesh is always going to vote no. Put it on the calendar.
Wednesdays are my fasting days.
Exactly. Or the first of every month. Build that rhythm. Start small, and then you can build up as your spiritual muscles get stronger.
I want to leave everyone with a thought that really challenged me when we were prepping for this. It's a bit of a provocative question.
Let's hear it.
If we cannot say no to our physical bodies for a simple sandwich, something we literally need to survive, how in the world can we expect to say no to our flesh when it really wants to sin?
That hits home.
It's a training ground, isn't it?
It is. It proves to our spirits and to our bodies who is really in control. It demonstrates that we aren't slaves to our appetites. We are led by the Spirit.
So here's the challenge for this week. The application. Don't wait for a convenient time. There is never a convenient time to be hungry or bored.
Never.
Pick one small thing to fast from in the next 7 days. Maybe it's lunch on Thursday. Maybe it's just deleting TikTok for the weekend.
And don't just create a hole. Fill it. Take that specific time, even if it's just 15 minutes, and listen to God.
Replace the noise with His voice. We really believe that if you do this, if you apply this one practical tip, you're going to find a freshness in your walk with Christ that maybe has been missing for a while.
Absolutely. It's an invitation to go deeper.
Thanks for listening. Go try it out and let's see what God does. We'll talk to you next time.
Goodbye, everyone.